business, we just open forum. So anybody open forum. I had nobody sign up online, so no one's brought up a number, and having a guest in the room, this is what is on. Number two, discuss an action election administrator report. Election administrator, how did the election do?
It went pretty well. There wasn't any issues in the morning, it wasn't until the afternoon. We got a couple of calls talking about they couldn't find people on the check-in, but they had paper backup. So if they're on paper backup, they're in the check-in, you're just not looking them up right. I told him how to look them up as far as that basically at 24. He's like, I can't find these people that keep showing up. I'm running out of provisionals. Are you sure you're looking them up right? Yeah,
Who was the election judge now?
it was going by. It was emergency.
Yeah, he's still in Edmonton, so there's nobody down
No, I wasn't able to do that.
I mean, he did well.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I didn't get a call back about I didn't find anybody.
Okay.
As long as I'm up a certain way. So if you can't find them up this way, you should be able to pull up everybody, especially with that last name. And find them there. Other than that, it was just a lot of new judges just calling, checking in, asking questions, how we do this, how we find this person. Stuff like that. But nothing major at all.
Any issues with ballot printing? Because that was kind of the big issue last general when we were first getting everything fired up was the
Last time.
ink cartridges.
The last time those were the hard articles that were tested.
Right, I know.
So, all the cartridges that were in the printers this time were regular cartridges, and I mean, honestly, I got the majority of the cartridges back that I sent back.
Okay, yeah. But nobody said they had trouble ballot jamming, blah, blah, blah. Excellent,
I
very
didn't
good.
have anything to that effect at all, it was just mainly the judges calling, asking questions.
I'm
How do you do this, how do you do that, how do you shut down, how do you start up?
glad they're calling and asking questions. When they attend
Not just
meetings.
doing it.
Yes, that's when things go south.
Other than that, nothing really.
Good.
Business is normal, people calling, asking where they need to go, even though we had consolidation, that's location, so policy. I'm at my location, but people out here. Yeah, you have credit card, and they, can't practically, tell them where to go. Some of them did get a little irritated with it, there was a gentleman who came into the office and never even gets a chance to tell them where he needed to go, he just.
Because he usually comes there.
I don't know where he was at, honestly.
Didn't get a
I'm pretty
chance.
sure he needed to be informed, but he was driven all the way to town to find out, instead of calling first. But yeah, he got a little irritated and said that that's why we voted.
And that hasn't changed. We still go to the precinct.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, yeah, there's a little, few people got irritated, some of them got. But. Numbers pretty much were. Tabulation showed 1,015. 1919.
Charlie, use your inside voice.
We were at 1919 election night. We got 19 individuals that we got. So we.
Okay.
We're checking.
Which is actually not a bad turnout for us.
No.
For a constitutional election.
No, see, wasn't bad at all.
Smoothly. We waited on a few of the judges, like I said, they took a little more time to get back, no big deal, everything went easily. We had enough folks there helping out, bringing the equipment in, getting it all checked in. Wonderful.
Was that all at Irwin?
What's that?
Did you do all of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't have to actually still outside this time since it was pretty small, everything, keep body outside. Surprisingly, like I said, we did wait on a few, but
I know, so
We
we
got-
actually come until 10:30.
that was the last one, that was one of the weekends, she had no. Actually, all the power up on its ones, like the entire curb section was just. Park.
Interesting.
Who was the one that took time to do judge?
10. I can't remember what her name is now. Bailey?
Catherine Bailey. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's
Which, I mean, like I said,
she's an attorney, so
It's checked out.
she's a U.S. attorney, so I'm sure she was like, okay. Catherine, your half-hearted is better than most people's 100%. So.
I know we probably don't need to use the scooter anymore. She actually had her bring her stuff back over there, like she doesn't need to go.
Kitty?
Yeah.
I don't know.
She had something where she fell down, hit her head, had concussion.
I didn't know that.
Ultimately,
She's had a bad.
she's having to go through physical therapy to try and regain
Oh, no.
use her arms. I mean, she showed up that day to pick up her equipment, but she's like, you guys live in that? I was like, of course. You go.
Yeah,
She said, I can't lift anything. She was, I just,
I didn't know that. She didn't tell
I
me.
get a little busy, I might fall over, and we actually had one of the industry tough. One of the people in Engine Health passed by, he's like, hey! Freaked out. It's like, you okay, Kitty?
Okay,
So,
I didn't, I'll get with her. I didn't know that she was going through that.
I didn't either, until she called me when we were checking her out, with her equipment, so.
And her defense, she did not tell me, I heard that the third parties down there.
Somebody, yeah.
Until afterwards,
She's
I was
not
like, you know.
No,
I
no.
have to do this anymore. She's like, I couldn't help myself, somebody asked me to do something, I just said yes.
And then she's got two great clerks, and I've asked them repeatedly, like, oh, I'm not gonna judge. Y'all done this, you know it. So anyway, today might
Okay.
enter that probably.
Well, we're gonna canvass that election Friday morning, May 3rd, it's on the agenda that we in now, so this Friday morning, May 3rd, we'll canvass that elections commission. Discussion action on party chair report, obviously you've all heard that Tom Henson had a heart attack, he survived it, and we're dealing with felonies at home rescue, I believe they've done some stents, a pacemaker,
He's maker and, defibrillator.
defibrillator,
Mm.
yeah, and there's some further recovery time, so we wish everybody the best.
And he's got a long history of heart issues, so that's.
You know, I didn't know that till the other day. I had not heard that before.
There was an election where he actually was running, where he helped run boxes, and I think he already had this. When he just got in the hospital, you want me to take for it, I'm not trying to drop all that
They
upstairs.
don't feel
Yeah,
like
he just-
the process of it. This is terrible.
He's like, I'll take it easy if I know it's funny.
I mean, like for 15, 20. I mean, just a long history of heart disease he's been fighting, so that's sad, I mean, so he knows it, he's been taking medicine and all this stuff, and it's still getting him, so that's.
That's it. That's too bad. Nice job. What do you got for us, Mr. Wall?
Nothing really.
Okay, cool. So we pretty much recapped constitutional amendment election. Let's see what we're really going to you guys input today. Couple of things. So this is the third iteration of voting maps from our friend. This is the third iteration of voting maps. This is the numbers that go along with these maps. We continue to try to reorganize some things. There was one major thing that happened yesterday, and it's taking effect. That's the county bought an outpost on the western side of the county. And this map is this way because I was looking for maps and stuff. I'm like, dude, can you do better than that? It's terrible. I had a secondary map, the original one, that walked off out of my office yesterday because it rolled into my desk and I left and it's no longer there. Yeah, anyway, that's how things going on. You guys stop. What we did is we had to go through these maps several times.
Things to party, don't count, don't count.
Even the southern part, I'm like, "Hey, Mike," and I've sent him a reply, email this whole map. I think next time we're gonna allow some facts, in all honesty. So what we've sent him is notes several times, we sat down and drew a map, we gave that map to him, and God bless him, he just can't seem to understand it. This is his best attempt so far. So if you look at this, the last time, he combined 13 and 14. And that was iteration one. Next time he moved it out some. Well, he took up so much 14 to some geographical room, it just kind of threw some numbers off. So where we're at right now is if you take the southeastern part of the county, we combined Hubbard and Mount Calm, and then the boxes that were at Malone and Penelope, and then Bynum rolls into 3, and part of 3 and part of 7, the current 7, which is Abbott. And then you're going to take from Irene, Brandon, Retenz to Carl's Corner, and that will all be a new, it's cut off my map. So I'm just really okay with this guy's. He's a nice dude, he really is. He's getting out there. So if you start looking at this handout I gave, the spreadsheet, it goes through 14 districts. We've got it down to 14 voting precincts at this point. That's, if everybody's happy with that, that's 14. So where we're headed with this 14, is you look across at voting age population. One of our stated goals is to try to get some more equality in the numbers between the different voting populations. This is the best yet. As you see that you've got a couple of outliers for small side, 11. 11 is down in the southeastern part of the county, which unfortunately is not included on your map. But it takes up a huge geographical area. And we're just trying to find people in that Malone and Penelope area. It was just, they're gonna drive a long way to get to the voting precinct, and we're kind of stuck at that for now. Then you look at 10, which is the area. I mean, it took in Covington, told me twice to take Covington out.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to get it. So anyway, 10 that currently proposed takes up a total of 3,002 18+ population, which we consider the voting age population. The other really big one is 13. As much as we've trimmed down on 13, I mean, it's still huge. It's still 3,180 people. So that South Whitney box, the way that's set up, I believe that we need to trim down 13 some.
Yes.
I need to talk with you guys. Are we interested in putting the 15th voting precinct back in the Covington, or do we leave it as is because we have the Itasca Hillsville Center to vote in? I mean, it's a question that we need to decide amongst ourselves, but I really think 13 needs to be reduced. I don't have a problem putting part of that 13 into 6 or to what's 4 at? 4 is 2,100. We could put part of 13 into 4.
Or, I mean, if there's, we had talked about trying to lop off kind of
Correct.
which road it is here. Because a lot of these folks
Okay. Draw over.
was trying to, either align about here
Mhm.
to fold that, because that's not that big a deal for those folks to drive down 933 to Aquila. And if we needed more, trying to maybe even, there's not a lot of population. I mean, most of the population is over here.
Exactly.
So it maybe it's, coming up 933, something like that, maybe more so to try to fold that into 14, just to take some of the pressure off of 13 and put those into 14. See, because 14 is a little bit up, but not much difference in that line.
Mhm.
And that's only got 1,800, a population of 1,800. Does this have registered voters or just population?
The voting plus
Oh,
18
voting.
plus, yeah. It doesn't say registered.
Total.
Of course, it's off census number, not off registered voter.
Right, okay, well, so 14 is still a touch low in terms of population. Mostly it's trying to get, because
4 is a little on the small side. I mean,
26, yeah, I mean, either way, you could,
but now the question is, I don't know where we're voting at for yet. I would say McAllen Valley is
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah,
best
yeah, yeah,
place to
yeah.
vote if they'll allow us.
yeah.
That's so weird.
And
It's
if,
4.
and if not, then you could go off of and maybe do Cowboy Church itself.
That's true.
We haven't talked to them, I mean, it's just one, I mean, yeah, it's a little further away, but those are 2 places really to vote.
In all honesty, the Cowboy Church isn't a bad idea for that precinct, because so much of that population is down here in this end of that precinct. That's in the 1713.
And if they would allow us to,
Don't
like,
they
the-
own the town now?
yeah.
Yeah, they don't count out.
So, I mean, there's just more physical space at the Cowboy Church Fellowship, if they would be open to that.
We can talk about
Then, I don't know about,
it. I'm with you. I think that this is, come on in, what you need?
I don't know, I just saw, is this county commissioners?
That was yesterday. This is elections commission today.
You can join us.
Yeah.
I can run away.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you, is that you look at this amount of people, now, we can take some of this back, that line is hard and fast, because that's a precinct.
right, we don't wanna, right.
So the
Yeah, I
question
mean,
is,
in a, if we're just doing voters, you would do a big circle right there, but that messes up the existing JP commissioner and constable line, so we don't want to do that. We had talked about, Marshall, of keeping something in Covington and just kind of drawing a line, like that.
or something, yeah, get back down towards Hillsborough, maybe, to take on some of that. But I don't know what that looks like yet, because I've got to go down
He's
there.
never given us that
No,
as a
yeah.
block.
So I'm gonna, my game plan next week is, or later this week, today, is to set up a time with him that we can sit down and get in person, sitting in front of his computer with this
Yeah.
software.
That line here.
It's what I've been asking for the whole time, and it's like, well, I'm busy, I need to do this and that. You're busy, tell me, I'll go find somebody else. So anyway,
How important do you think it is to keep, and it's just because this area, I mean, the population there right now is not like, oh my gosh, they've got to have their own voting box, but that area is growing. Covington, a lot of people don't like to go from here to Itasca.
mhm,
I think these folks going this way is not that big a deal. I mean, if you're here,
Nothing
you're
there,
used to
right?
driving to go to anything, no matter what.
Ain't like there's a grocery store here, you know?
Where's
So-
where's the voting place here?
Right now it's in Blum, but if we wanted to, we can move it down to Huron.
That building.
So we bought
Oh,
7.25
if you
acres.
did annex,
Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
at doing a whole annex over there. We made a contract yesterday. We got it below what we thought it was gonna go for, so
nice.
we're in the process of putting an outpost and annexing
Yeah.
inside the county.
Yeah, no, if that happened, I'm more than fine. I mean, the community center is not bad, but it's just like, I don't know, it's like always tough to find the person to open the door and to get the key there. And historically, that's just been a little tough. So yeah, I mean, if that's there, that's still.
Where does 6 vote?
Six,
This is the new 2,
that's,
if you will. So like
Okay.
you're taking
So where's this?
old
gonna-
6 and 2
in town, in town.
because the voting place right now is the Peoria Community Center, which.
The other thing we have option on here, guys, is we can trim some of the bottom off the 10 and put it in one, because one only has 1,970 people in it.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Yeah,
could
yeah,
also
yeah.
take it and trim some there, yeah.
If you
Yeah.
take this part of 13,
Mhm.
there's a ton of people that live
Mhm.
out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are, and so that's, 6 has 2,776.
And they're the same situation. They're either going to Whitney or they're going to Hillsborough.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
What is this little area right here?
That's gonna be the old 2604 White Bluff area.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which,
so
I mean.
And that's got
I was thinking
21,
most of
that's
these,
got 2135. so
Correct,
that's a
it's
lot.
fairly well split between them and the new
the
2.
current term we always have at 13 is just one of our most overcrowded
Oh, no, it's
locations.
horrible.
Now, if, once we have early voting there, hopefully that will take
It
pressure off a lot of
alleviate,
that.
yes.
But,
We're gonna move fast to early voting there for primary.
nice.
Where?
I think that'd be
Huron.
nice.
It's
Okay.
looking around possibilities for us, but early voting.
What about in Hubbard? You have a
so you're
facility
doing it
there?
Don't, one place at a time. Yeah, I gotta have a facility, but we're gonna start our talks not next week, week after. with Hubbard.
Community center? You know that, the back part where we always met in the front?
Bill Ford dealership.
Yeah, Ultimate Ford, yeah. That we always meet in the front of that
Yeah.
building, and then in the back, there's a huge, just open space, and it's climate controlled.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all.
That's about only, there's that, there is the Methodist Church has a nice.
Community
Community
center.
center. But you don't have to use it for 2
Where do they
weeks.
vote over there now, like in,
Our department. So, I mean, and that's okay, but if we start to have, more precincts in there, that space is limited.
I think if we can cut a deal with the community center, that's the way to go, especially consolidating Montcalm box into there. That would be better
cause it's
room.
right downtown,
better
and there's
parking.
parking on
Both
the
sides.
off-road, not on the frontage.
Yeah, I like that idea, Marshall. Let me put some notes on that.
Yeah.
See, our goal was to have the three early votes up for the primary.
Mhm. And once you do that, I'm gonna try to, be sure, I'm gonna start recruiting now, now that we know we are for sure gonna do that. Now that the constitutional amendment election is finished, and I've been kind of waiting until we find out what's the new voting precincts look like. But yeah, starting to recruit really hard to be sure we've got, early voting for Hillsborough, Whitney, or West Side and East Side. And I've got folks who know they need to serve for 2 weeks, so we got on the train early and a pool of people
Yeah.
to, you can pull from. Because now instead of just one early vote, we need 3 early vote crews.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
Solicit.
And I'll be reaching out as well. I haven't said anything because didn't want to get in front of Commissioner's Court.
I got you. No, our goal is to have that. Right now, we could technically do it the way it is, but we need to do a little bit of work in there to clean things up, make it workable.
What about the college?
In Hillsborough.
No, Hill College.
For
college is
For recruit.
Sure.
recruits, yeah.
I want to be sure we've got judges and several clerks, just a pool of folks to pull from that are trained up and, because 2 weeks is a lot of time for people to make a commitment. So maybe you need like, okay, you need to block your calendar now. You need to understand you're gonna be serving this time. And then trying to get, at least a couple of backups.
Did we ever get clarification on the internet connectivity at our remote
Doesn't matter.
early votes?
Yeah. So I have a horse to stay every night.
So that won't be a problem out we have internet connectivity at the I don't know what to call it yet, the west side annex, the Huron place, whatever. That's easy, we're on top of the hill there, we've already contacted the folks at NextLink, who we have contracts with to do internet, not an issue. So internet connectivity is easy.
I mean, just for the voter registration,
Yeah,
you know, that's gonna be an issue, because, you know, if somebody comes to Hillsborough and votes and then tries to go out there and vote, you need it to say. you know,
Correct, yeah, and so internet connectivity is not a problem out there. I mean, if it is worst case scenario, say it's failed, the tower falls over, a hurricane, whatever, we can still take hockey pucks, the Eagle, whatever those things, Nighthawk devices, set everything up because we've already tested those out there and we do good service with those and the Cradle Point units. So we've got a backup system if it doesn't work out the way we want to. As for Hubbard, I can't speak on that because I haven't talked to them. I would presume they have internet connectivity there. I just don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah. That, is the state, which is a little history every night.
mhm,
I mean, it's the voter registration side.
mhm, yeah, not, yeah. Which is, yeah, okay.
But between Philip and Tom, that's just a logistical hurdle that needs about 2 weeks lead time to get the equipment in. It's easy enough. So matter of fact, they're redoing the one over here that got smoked by lightning last week or 2 weeks ago.
Would Huron be ready for the primary?
What's that?
Would Huron be ready for the primary?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, as long as you've got power, you can hold it in a shell.
Warehouse,
Yeah, we
yeah.
got, yeah, see, we got power, we've got water right now.
So as long as you got those two, that's all you need.
We've got concrete parking all the way around the building, plenty of square footage. We'll be in good shape.
I mean, not all these polling locations have a bathroom for the public. It's adequate.
We gotta install the septic facilities. The bids came in yesterday. As soon as we close on the thing, which will be the end of this month, hopefully, if not the very beginning of next month, we'll go forward and go ahead and have the septic systems installed immediately. So we've already told the contractor to start getting the parts scheduled, everything lined out, because due to supply chain issues, obviously. Outside of that, I've already got the IT people looking at what necessary equipment we're gonna need to put on there. We have microwave bag links, backhaul devices to get the IT. Next thing is we've got to consult with a plumber, how to look through the plumbing in it. Plumbing will work the way it is, but I don't know that it's gonna be code, and obviously for government, we have to apply by municipal code.
I would say once you set the early vote locations, take like a map shot of where they are in relation to the county for the paper, so people know where those.
Totally.
early voting
Well, that's all,
stations
you wanna have all that ironed out as close as like, figure out which one we can use down here, so when it says, changes coming to Hill County, we're gonna introduce early voting all throughout the county, you know, these 3 locations, and this is where we're gonna be combining voting precincts. Anyway, so here's where your early voting is.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, I'm amazed at, even the trend in Hill County, certainly nationwide, of, if it's available, you know, you're almost getting 70% of your vote at early votes.
Yeah, it wasn't like that 10 years ago.
No, it is definitely, so I think, and for everybody who's upset, there'll be people who are upset, it's like, well, we are making accommodation.
Yeah.
So,
We're trying.
yeah, no, I think that's it's all good.
Yeah, what we have.
It's 2 weeks, right, Aaron, for early
As long
vote?
as it doesn't extend.
Or change, if the governor, you know, has another pop
Oh,
fly.
my goodness.
Is that
Speaking of which, Chairs, the 29th, are you available, or 29th for sign
29th?
Yes, sir, 29th.
Man, cutting it to the edge, huh?
No,
Nope, 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 nope.
Not available on 29th?
No, I can be, but the 13th is just as valid as the 29th.
I hesitate with that statement, I get you.
Would you like to see the Texas Secretary of State's email stating that?
No, I remember that time he hosed you, so I don't trust him anymore. So all I'm saying is, we can do it on the 13th. All right, so here's the deal. This statement was to try to correct a problem before it happened, and that was.
The Senate.
I got you, you're right. So anyway, long and short, the Senate 13 got passed in special sessions. And what it said is, hey, if the maps were available by this date, then sign up took on this 2-week period.
If this, then
and
this, if this, then
you
this.
know, blah, blah, blah. Well, they anticipated having enough votes to make it effective immediately, 2/3 votes in both parties, in both houses to make it effective immediately. There were 3 votes shy in the House to get it done. So it really didn't become effective till December 2nd. So that law said that on the 2nd that the early vote went from 11/29 to 12/13. So the question is, we've never been in this position before. And so the law as it currently stands says sign up goes from 11/13 to 12/13 at this point. So the question becomes, and this is a question we've had to our general counsel and people who have been in this business for a long time, what happens if you sign up before? Well, technically, usually, if one signs up outside of sign-up dates, it is completely void, not voidable, but your sign-up is void. Now, has this ever been challenged? Not once. I can find no case law on it, General Counsel for County Judges Commissioners State of Texas can find no case law that hasn't happened. But the recommendation that they're passing out is, hey, when we say 29th is the way to go, 11/29. Again, who's gonna challenge this? Who knows?
However,
We're living in
the-
weird times, so.
well, no, it was, so, but the Senate law, I mean, they really screwed the pooch on, and the whole state is confused, okay? I've got verification from the Secretary of State as well as the state party saying that while that Senate bill takes effect December 1st or 2nd, which is funny, because it takes effect after the time period they try to create, anyway. But the fact that we do have maps signed off, therefore that law is no longer, applicable because it did, that law, blah, 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 it did not change the last day to file. So it's like how early, or when is the first day to file? So according to Secretary of State, yes, we follow the normal Texas election calendar based on March 1 as the election date. When you go back so many weeks, yes, November 13th is the first day to file. So now, the problem is if one waits later to file and something is wrong with one's application, there is less time to make a correction. So that's why I always say file as early as possible. In the event something is incorrect, you have the chance as a candidate to correct your application.
That is just volunteering right now. Like putting it in
Nope,
the
nope,
virtual
nope.
community.
No, so, yeah, I mean, I am proceeding, accepting applications for those names that are on the ballot this time, beginning November 13th. It runs through December 13th, and you have, by law, you have to review it, and you have 5 days to notify the applicant whether or not the application has been accepted, not received, but accepted. And you do that in writing, and then therefore, that person now has time to remedy whatever thing they did not do correctly.
So if we file on the 13th, you have 5 days to tell us if we need to correct anything. Is that
By
right?
law.
Okay.
I mean, I usually sit there with you and go,
Yeah.
Tanner,
When did you do this?
you didn't put where you live. You get to fill that out. You get
Not
to fill it.
anybody.
But when you turn in your application, it's notarized, so if something's screwed up, you gotta go back and get it re-notarized.
The direction on hand is twofold: A, the candidates can make mistakes, and B, not this kind of, their comes the party chairs, they see politics, and so you have to go file injunctions to district court. And it takes a little bit of time. So,
Yeah, it's trying, I mean, if you're gonna get your name taken off the ballot, it occurs at this application. That is pretty much the only way you can remove somebody from, if they didn't put their full name, they left a blank, et cetera, et cetera.
And then I like it, I don't like it, simply, if you follow the rules
Yeah.
on the application.
Anyway, if one waits till November 29th, now you only have less than 2 weeks. Yes, there is within a 5 day to notify the candidate, but that candidate at that point now has 5 days maybe to hurry up and get it corrected and sent back in. I mean, it just, now.
So, okay, so if we file with you on the 13th and you come down on the 29th, and Democrats file and suddenly say all your ballots are written, ballots are in sealed. If that happened,
Yeah,
what do we do with that?
we say, haha, and I've entered in your name. See, this is the other thing that is so funny about all this law and all this stuff. Who are you filing with? The Republican Party. Who's in charge of the Republican Party? The chair. If in the chair says, I accept that candidate, guess what? That candidate's accepted. I mean, that,
You don't think of legal injunction, somebody come back later and say, hey, you guys filed before the voting, so it's void. I'm not saying.
We don't have anybody's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the state, not these people.
in Hill County that, yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, but that's what's so funny about all of this, that people get all antsy, it's like, did the chair sign off and did the chair accept? Yeah, guess what? My party, I'm responsible for this. If I say that's somebody who's allowed to be on the ballot, name's gonna be on the ballot. Now, at that point, really, the only person who can, and this is one of those other things that answer your question is, so who can challenge that? Really, the only person who can challenge that would be somebody running against you in the primary, a fellow candidate. An outsider can look at that and make it, because like, you have no cause in this race, therefore,
Standings.
yeah.
But I will tell you that I say that none of that Democrat will second file as well. They have standing.
But they are filing to run in the Democratic primary.
Correct, but they ultimately need you in the general, and so
Yeah.
they would have standing to go, this isn't property, you want property on this. I mean, it's just a bunch of ifs, it's a question of logistics, and quite frankly, I think you're probably gonna be 99.9% fine, sign up on
Yeah.
13th.
However, as an attorney and with ethical obligations under the law in this state, if I was to advise a client, I'd say, no, just to be safe, I'd wait till the 29th.
And then I, as your chair, say, well, you're entered into a danger, so anybody who waits till the end to file, you're inviting chaos potentially. Now, that is the choice of the candidate. The candidate has November 13th to December 13th to file, December 13th until 5 o'clock to file, no, actually 6 o'clock to file.
Even yours, other people done before.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so,
Alright, cool. Alright, we got over 10, sorry about that. Let's go back to the maps real quick. Outside of this, obviously, Mr. Professor did not send us the southeastern part of county. It's the same as the previous maps. There's been no changes over there. So the question is, looking at the numbers on this spreadsheet, are you relatively happy with the way the number spread is working at this point?
well, it's certainly better than what we've had in the past. We're getting closer. And if we had huge facilities at each polling location, i.e. 13, you probably say, yeah, fine, just go with it. But like I said, in a perfect world, it would be nice to put some of the population, in my opinion, from 13 into 14. Or you could take from the far eastern part and fold it into New 6 if you wanted to.
That's a possibility.
The only thing is that you gotta drive from here all the way to Hillsborough to vote.
The other issue you've already got 2,076 people in 6.
Yeah, so
It's
that 14 is kind of needs more people, in my opinion,
Yeah,
than 6.
then the amount of traffic, so you cut off the entire bottom half of 14. 14 is huge now.
That's always been that way.
Yeah, it's not been that big.
Yeah, it is. 14 has always been, some of this was in 13 previously, geographically.
It wasn't this big, though. This is bigger than it's been in the past.
So that goes from Abbott all the way to Moving Park?
Correct. Yep. See, there's existing right now.
So it's always gone all the way down there, so
Yeah,
this new map pulls
it pulls all Prairie Valley.
in there.
Pulls a good bit of Prairie Valley in there, a bit of this area. So what you got now is instead of people going out Prairie Valley in this area back up here to 13, you've got to come up.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I think that's what,
Some others have to go.
well, I would,
Well, that's true.
All I'm simply saying is there's ways to look at it. We can continue to increase the size of 14, but do we need to at this point? It's kind of like when you look over here at 11, which unfortunately is not currently, 11 is going to be the combination of the green and the yellow on the far side of your map. That's a huge precinct, but geographically, it's still not as big as 14, I don't believe. However, we only have 950 people. At some point, we're just not going to be able to add more folks and still make it rational. I don't believe it, right? But combining those down there is, I think, a great idea.
the, for New 13, if, where's Prairie Valley?
I'm so confused. This is confusing me.
You know, I'm see, because these people have to go all the way back to Woodbury from here.
I mean, people will get used to it. It's just gonna be the first initial
You're right.
shock.
You are correct.
For the folks down wherever Prairie Valley is,
Yeah, right down there.
I would rather see Prairie Valley
Correct, go to 13.
go to 13, and then if we need to lop off a little bit, like I said, I think here, this section, and kind of fold that into 14, just to, once again, it's just trying to keep the pressure off of Lutheran Church. Hopefully they'll early vote and that won't be an issue, but that would be my druthers, is keep Prairie Valley, because you can't go from here to there. You have to go up here, go past the polling location, then go drive, that's just gonna tick people off.
It really will.
So I would rather see down to where the dead end of Prairie Valley.
960.
Yeah, fold into, keep that in 13 and then just lop off some of this section,
Add to 14.
14, yeah. Because these people are gonna feed to 933 and go down, that's not that.
The same thing with people on the west side of Lake Aquila, they're gonna come back down where those access roads out to 933. So I think you go all the way to the top of Aquila off 1534,
Sure.
and that's the way to go to include that down. Yeah. All right, so that takes care of some ideas for 13. What else?
I like the idea of trying to, and one, in my opinion, has gotten a little bit small. So yeah, let's maybe bump one up a little bit here and fold that out of 10 into 1.
Okay.
And then I'm still
I don't know, I'm still a little torn about,
So we put a 15-20 under. I mean, if we do that, we don't need to take out we don't need to take out a 10 to add 1, we take out a 10 to add Covington, because I don't know what the population looks like over there.
Right.
If we suddenly remove that, how big do we get?
Sure.
Because you look at your current map, you know, really Covington just went down here and over into this little hiccup.
right, that's all, it was a very small, that's about all it was.
Let me review Old Covington. What's that one currently called?
19.
19, review current 19.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, if we wanted to make 19, bigger and just kind of run, if you will, maybe just a straight line down. Where's 170? So, yeah, just you have to pick some kind of arbitrary road line or something.
I guess, yeah.
And then, you know, maybe we make, or it'd be interesting to see what that number is. Because it would certainly take some of the numbers off of 10 and keep them.
Yeah. Well, my goal is to try to get the number down to 10 somehow. That means adding a 15. Is everybody okay with adding 15? Basically, the 15th will be putting Covington back in.
Right. And so, yeah, I think, I then also just try to think about how the county works and how people, you know.
Yeah. So you've got good access from Covington to Itasca. There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Back over to Itasca. You've got no problems there. You'll have people complain, don't get me wrong.
But aren't they closer to Durham, like to early vote?
At Covington?
Yeah.
Not equidistant, yeah, maybe
About the same.
Not the same, not too far off. But for early vote, yeah, they can go there, they can go Hillsborough, you name it. You know, that's just the biggest thing with the early vote offering in 3 places is trying to take away some of that day of vote.
Right.
You know, if I had my druthers, I'm not doing this to you, I'm not gonna recommend it, I put a fourth early vote right down in that damn 13 box. Try to soak up as much as people's.
No, there's not a.
I'd rather start off small
Yeah.
and then stretch ourselves out later, because I think 3 is gonna be a heck of a stretch, I'd like to see how that works, multiple.
If,
You could use the.
Well, let's do
last
two.
one.
let's see whether, then
You
next,
could use the Methodist Church Family Life Center for early vote.
Where
That's
at?
about the only one in town.
No, you can't.
You know, the Methodist shut us down.
Yeah.
They want, yeah, sorry,
But a facility like that, you know.
the Nazarene? No, that's up north.
Hey,
the
what happened?
Baptist, First Baptist Church.
Isn't there a huge gym? for us
They
to
do.
use?
They don't use
Supposed to
that
use it,
anymore.
I don't know.
but
if
They
it's
were
not
in
allowed.
that recent meeting. So,
Where are they at now?
I have to look at seeing that, well.
So y'all, instead of the Methodist that one time, y'all used the,
We ditched
It was
it.
That
a
is
Baptist
right.
church, right.
was it too small?
The Baptist Church?
The one that was right across the street.
Oh, that, yeah. it's-
Missionary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not missionary Baptist, it's, what is that? There's a missionary Baptist out there, it's Interesting State Park. that one, so.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well, what's the next question too is, guys, I know this is not partial, I apologize, Professor, again. Does each one of these proposed voting precincts have a decent place to vote in it? I think the answer is yes, but I want everybody, the one that concerns me is 5. I know we're all voting in Woodbury Community Center. And probably Woodbury Community Center, there ain't no good way out. So we're stuck with that.
Is there a school?
there's a church, there's Woodrow Baptist Church. I've never been in Woodrow Baptist Church, I don't know if they've got a community center, but
We did something there one time.
Where is that?
That's 27 now.
if, I mean, if you go to downtown Woodbury, it's on, Thin Road.
Okay, the bank.
The biggest issue with the Woodbury that I see is ADA access. It's insane. Now.
88 bathrooms into the building, electricity, just.
So the ADA probably, county issues. I mean, that's a matter of us putting a aluminum wrap down there, not wooden. It's portable, so it doesn't need the definition we get.
They have ramps like that, which you can take up and put down as a.
Yeah, so that's just a thought. I don't love the building by any means. It's got the parking, it's about centrally located at 5, and then that's the
That is
issue.
pretty good, I didn't think of that.
The, I'm trying to think of
That's a hike.
Woodrow Baptist,
Yeah, that's a good.
just got a community.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
That's
that.
what I'm saying is I don't like 5, frankly, I don't like anything about 5. The problem with 5 is that we're trying to do what is geographically impossible, and that's to figure out a way to make Woodbury work. I really start to think that we need to pull everybody out in the other ways out of Woodbury. You gotta leave Woodbury to get a tank of gas, a loaf of bread, go to Walmart, see the doctor, exist in society, you have to leave. And the route we've taken with these maps, unfortunately, and I think it was some necessity, is that we're forcing everybody back into Woodbury. I don't know if that's the best idea. I don't know if it wouldn't be better served in splitting 5 up and rearranging things just a hair. Because there's just not a good place to vote. And I know it's gonna make some people mad, but at the end of the day, I don't know that forcing everybody back to Woodbury from all over Buckshot on 933 is a good idea.
And most people travel in cars now, not buggies and horses.
So my question is, how do we rearrange this entirety of precinct 1 into something that's more usable than this? You follow? I don't have a problem with this Blum district up here. That works out.
Yeah,
That's
those-
fine. Now, when you get down to 8, you're looking at a total of 2,135 people. Man, that 2,100, 2,400, that's kind of our range we're shooting here. So 8's like the proper size. 4, again, we're 2,154. Man, 4 is about the proper size.
Where does 8 go?
You talking about new 8 or old 8?
This new 8?
New 8,
Okay.
that's gonna be voting, I'm sorry.
Oh, the fire department.
2604, or there is also,
There's some new stuff going over there across from Loveland.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, there's that, and then there is down 2604,
the church, the big old
Oh,
church
Fort
there.
Grand.
Fort Grand.
Fort Grand Baptist,
Yeah.
which that's something else. I mean, the 2604 that is really small, it's always crowded and.
And it's also statue down.
I mean,
But-
so
A
13
lot
is,
of people don't like to come around.
I think that we have a possibility of cutting down here and adding a couple of people to 8, an equal amount to 4. That brings us up around that 2,400 number, if we could, 2,500 in that area. Then,
Problem is, where do you put this group? when they
man,
go vote?
that's a good question. So let's look at 5 and 6 again. Do we like 5 and 6?
Nope. Oh, well, this is a commissioner line.
That's right. That's a future line. So, I mean, I've still got 5, but the question is do I have a 15th precinct or do I
This
somehow?
is,
precinct four?
Itasca.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is Presbyterian Church. This is.
Well, I know, but this is in that commission.
Yes, we said.
Yes, that's in Chris.
So
Precinct.
we can shrink 5 more and just try to deal with the fact that we're gonna have one small precinct over there. If we pull 500 people out of there.
I think adding some of this into 4 would be good.
I mean, could you split it like that? And this
Yeah,
would go there, and this would go
basically-
there, and this would go up there.
What you do would be take the thing would be, do you just leave old 5 the way old 5 was?
And part of me, I hate to do that, but I understand your point. I'm looking
Because
at
you
this-
can take the old line of 12, and split 12 up to either go here, or,
What if we looked at this? All right, see, 1947 is a natural dividing line on this side of the county. It runs down between the lakes, so that's where it's at. We know we need to drop population down to 13. It needs to go somewhere, but we need to pick up Prairie Valley. So that means what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off a good part of this, because there's a lot of people down there. So a good part of this is gonna disappear over here. We could, instead of putting another precinct there,
Mhm.
around Peoria. Now, I don't know, I listened to numbers on it, because I don't want to create a small precinct of 400 to 500 people, that's not our goal. But it's something to think about,
well, once again, you can't crisscross.
Yeah, totally right.
Different maps, there you go.
Let's just make 4 precincts and it's the commissioner's ones.
Yeah, part of me still
Yeah, I
wants to
mean,
do that.
this would have to split like that and go there and there, and then this could come up here.
I'm not kidding, if this was a year from now, I would totally say, yeah, you know what, everybody needs to go to Huron, I'd be fine with that.
Or what?
Voting, why don't you just make one big precinct out of one?
Oh,
But I don't have the facilities in the other precincts to handle it. That's the biggest issue. We just don't have the facilities to handle that many people on election day at one place. I don't have anything right now.
so, yeah, this is where the old 5 ends up being it's just stuck in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, because people from here don't go, that you can't, you'd have to go from here all down to 22 and across, or down to, it'd be great if you could, like we normally do for combined constitutional, flip this into here, except you're crossing the commissioner line. So you've got, it's
So
that.
these people are in the same commissioner precinct as.
Nope.
No, it's Andy.
Oh my gosh.
That's the problem, is that this
Oh, that's
Crazy.
old 5 is just, it's a,
Just always been out there, no one knows.
So
yeah.
whose commissioner is this?
Andy,
Andy.
So that's this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, except that in order to go, there's not a good way if you go up, what's the FM road through Woodbury? That's
Up there, man.
309, you can't go up, you go up 309, but you can't get to Huron. Well, you can, but it's a big.
Actually, that's one of the reasons we finally looked at this. We're actually looking further south in here. The reason we turned our attention north is the property is more readily available. But by putting this right down here, it's actually easier to get back into, it's not great, but it's easier to get back into Woodbury than it is from Blum. It's the major access on this side of the county. So it's not centrally located, but it's about as central as we could possibly get it located for saying one.
I think you have to cut it here, the lower population gets to go to Huron, and then these get minimally split between these two.
I mean, if this is gonna stay in the commissioner precinct, JP and constable line, which it is,
Yeah.
then yeah, the best flow for these folks would be to go to
To
this,
Huron.
as, you know, and combine.
Because all your population is out here in Overlook and
Yeah,
this
and then
area.
put these folks
Like
either
draw it
here or
right
here.
here.
I hate that you can't see the roads. Not
And then
34 is a nice
split
road.
them that
They can
way.
just run across.
Yeah,
Well.
so,
A hike, we could have everybody voting Huron from both of these, because look at this. One, and looking at precinct 2, it's 1,863 people, correct? 1,863, and 5 is a total of what,
15.
24. So that starts to get kind of sizable. That's
so,
probably-
but if you block off Buckshot, if you will,
If you take in
Throw it.
Overlook and put
Yeah, exactly.
Overlook
into here
in
and here.
You're gonna probably take, that's gonna be 500 people or better in
Yeah.
those two.
Oh,
You
easily.
can trim that back down to about 2,500, 2,600 pretty easily.
for sure. What's age?
the
21.
new age, 2,500.
4.
Yeah, I mean, that one's fine. I mean, you can throw a few, but not a lot of people there, so I mean, you
No,
can throw those
that's
into
right.
there, and that makes sense, because that's how like people flow that way. And then this area flows to here, works fine. So, yeah, I mean,
And that wouldn't be a huge change for them. Are they
No.
voting in 12 now? Buckshot?
Buckshot,
yes, yeah,
So that's not a huge change. Instead of going to town, I go to 1730. Yeah,
and then.
yep.
So now, you know, the other things that this does is we reduce that, which is one thing that I've been trying to do, is reduce the number of voting precincts, which reduces the number of precinct chairs. I get a bigger population to pull from to, you know,
So is that taking 5 out totally?
you could.
Good, possibly. I
And
mean,
then,
that's.
but then you're
why
gonna add
guys-
another one.
Because then
so
you'll
it's
have
still gonna be-
8,
Well, I might not, I might not. add them.
I mean, this might
Yeah.
become the 5.
I mean, come on in. Yes, sir.
Report, but I'm lost, I'm kind of lost.
Yeah, upstairs.
Upstairs.
Oh, yes, sir, upstairs. I mean, so basically we'll take is part of 5, say part of 5. Oh, whatever the axis is over there, back into Blum, and then part of 5 into 8, part of 5 into 4. Take Prairie Valley out of 14 back into 13, because that's a natural flow, they gotta come out of there. And you take that western edge, the eastern edge of 13, roll it back into 6. You could probably take a portion, if you got too big of numbers down there, a portion of southern portion of 6 and roll it into 14 if you had to.
Yeah,
That's doable, like everything south of FM 310.
yeah,
You could take FM 6.
yeah, because those people are going from there to 9,000. But those these folks, you know, should already go. If they, they're close to, most of those folks are going for us.
So that's what I'm getting at. You're giving those people more opportunity to early vote now, and they've got that opportunity, so they can't complain too much about going down there. So if we use 310 as our line, shut that back down, that might give us a little more room, wiggle room there. And then we'll take part of 10, add it into 1. I really don't want to put Covington back if we don't have to. It's just adding another, problem.
What does that over there look like that we can't see? Is it all
That has
good?
been good since we started the first iteration, the second iteration, third are all the same.
You're basically, Mount Calm and Hubbard are tied together as one precinct. These are tied together, and there's these, so basically those together, these together, and there's some little chain, and then 8.
Part of 8 goes into here, part goes into 7, part goes into
Yeah,
3,
you kind of,
Okay.
yeah.
something along those lines.
Is there a 7? Did we, or did that get chopped up?
No, 7,
Yeah,
yeah,
seven.
7's added, so it goes all over the
So-
Bible, almost down to 42.
Yeah, so it kind of, basically does that kind of gets locked together, and this kind of gets locked together.
So that's kind of.
And then this one kind of starts to take in some of old 4 to increase because 4 is this huge, it's just 4, 13,
Yeah,
and
4 is massive.
22 for the largest ones. And so it's kind of like trying to increase the population, pulling some here and pulling, combining and pulling some off that. It's funny because now 3 ends up being technically by population, one of the larger precincts,
And it
but
wasn't.
well, no, voting wise, no, but I mean, it's the pressure on polling, which sucks because, Central Baptist Church is a great location. Nobody votes in 3 anymore. I don't know what the deal, every year it's just gone,
Really?
yeah. Yeah, it's one of the lowest
Turnouts by population percentage?
I don't know, it's just, that's a historic trend. So anyway, but we're, like I said, for this thing, we're looking at population, not necessarily registered voters, but that's just fine.
Yeah, no,
Because the population could become a registered voter.
we have no duty to make this equal. We don't. There's nothing under law, federal,
Right.
state, that requires us to make these equal. We're attempting to do so to balance the workload in hopes. But again, just because we've got 2,000 people 18 plus, don't mean 2,000 people vote.
No.
Right.
So, we're trying to take into, I think, other things consideration too. So not only just divide the workload up, but B, do we have a good place to vote?
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue. So this is a huge nightmare for us. And then after that, other things. we
12 and
take
13
into
goes. I mean, the Lutheran church is not adequate.
We can take into consideration where your election judges are as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you say, hey, I don't want to lose this person, combine 2 people and make them fight each other, that's not good. But here's the deal, I gotta get these maps done pretty quickly. So I'm
I think
talking
that's a
about-
secondary consideration. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I got you. So those are things to look at, how far we go to drive, the geographical area, all of that. So there's no perfect answer to this.
Some of them you have to drag kicking and screaming to serve anyway.
So now, I mean,
It's
just,
awfully sad.
I'm not gonna worry about today, we're looking at the big picture here, but things that make this interesting. So if let's say we put lock this 5 into this new, what is it called, 2.
2.
I have a precinct chair in 21, I have 1 in 27, and I've got Gary Don Keys at 5. Same thing for 10, I don't have, but like Tracy on 27, so those get combined. I mean, it's one of those things that everybody's having to deal with as well, which is why there's gonna be a magical, mystical, extra hologram for precinct chairs. Not that date's been defined.
So, the
Anyway.
question at the end of the day, are there other changes to this map that anybody around this table sees that we talk about? My game plan is to sit down with the professor in front of his computer with this software and go, hey, we need this done today.
Yeah.
Because I need to take action on
I'd
this.
say the biggest, is the 5, that's always been a problem. There's not a good place to vote there, and there's not gonna be a good place popping up in the next 10 years
No,
there.
this would fix that problem.
But if you said you're gonna go build Huron, this should be a great facility.
You've got good facilities there and good
Yeah,
facilities.
I mean, I hadn't wanted to think of pulling that trigger, but the reality is it's just where do you shove that? You can't shove it this way, you can't shove it that way because it's constant, so that's the only logical place you can shove it.
That's one of the reasons we wanted that outpost in precinct 1. You just got that wall rest. You don't have any incorporated areas, you don't have any big business, you don't have anything.
But the advantage is that they're gaining 2 weeks of early vote in their
Yes,
precinct.
Absolutely.
In their precinct.
Exactly.
So-
We're not taking anything away.
Right.
We're getting. So I don't mean, we're mad about it, but look, at the end of the day, it's much more equitable. It will be easier to vote when we're done with this than it is now.
I just think the key is to get it out there.
Yeah.
Every week in the paper, let people,
No, really talk about.
Yes. there's just people and it's,
No.
that they were, that's my mom.
Yeah.
She wants to vote on election day.
We will have those polling locations open, it just might not be the one you used to go to.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, so see what you can, yeah, if he'll listen to you, get those lines drawn, and then shoot us as soon as he gets you, you know.
So we'll do that.
And
So that would take us down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13. So that's almost 3, just a little, okay, that's pretty nice. Yeah,
Getting there.
yeah. Those places have put up signs on election night.
Tom can print these maps like big,
That's done. Yeah. Professor
because it would be
needs to
really
say
cool
entire
to
map.
start putting these up, you know, at
Yeah.
different places so people get where the voting centers are gonna
Well, I
be.
saw this on here, we just pull this over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really carry that in at all.
Professor Morrison.
Okay. Well, if in your fine with taking 05 and digging it up that way, I mean, that to me is the argument is polling location. Accessible,
Yeah, it's not a good one.
no. And it never has been. I mean, it, count that in Peoria, be nice to say sayonara to those and, Hilco is, they are fine with, I mean, that's not gonna work for election location. Hilco,
I don't remember yet.
that's, okay.
I'll get on with them. Probably want to do like I did last time, do that four section.
If that works.
No, that would be plenty.
If you think it's gonna work, I'm.
Where's Peoria?
Right there.
Oh, I'm way off.
No, Peoria, I'm sorry, it's down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You were there.
Sorry, no, that's in Woodbury.
But y'all are saying for these people to come here? Or? these
No, what I'm
people-
saying is that, no, well, actually Peoria's down here. I don't know what the heck that yellow block is.
It's not good. I'm looking at that down. You're right, that's correct.
Yeah, Peoria's gonna be.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Good,
Yeah.
good, good.
I don't know what that, I think that's an ink blue on the printer.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what we're talking about is taking 5, what this is showing is 5, and in like, well, we gotta remember, this 5 right now is basically 5 and 12 combined.
Yep.
So what we're saying is basically old 5 is gonna be combined into this new Blum district, if you will. And then old 12 would be kind of split in half, with some of it going to old 21 and some going to old 22. That works well for people traveling.
Okay, next question is, next meeting, we almost said next one. We got a quarterly meeting set for February, but we need to meet again for the end of the year.
Well, because when do you want to vote on this as Commissioner's Court
Last meeting in this month.
of this map? Okay, well then let's set another, I mean, if you want to, have another meeting, we can all sit and look real quick when you get that final map and just, that way we can say as elections commissions, has looked at this, we approve this, it is our recommendation to follow.
Instead of pushing everybody, let's shoot to adopt this map on 14th day of December. That's the second commissioner's report. So that means next week I've got to go to conference, I got no choice. The 24th, that's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Is anybody available for a meeting through that morning?
Yeah.
Okay, we should have something by then. So elections. Commission meeting, the 24th at 8:30 a.m. I presume we're gonna be in this room.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll have that done by then.
But hopefully you'll be able to email that out to us ahead of time, whatever the map is, we can all look at it, and
As soon
then,
as I got it, you'll get it.
yeah, and then we'll just meet that morning, and we can say, what we spill notes, and then you can take it to Commissioner's Court, so this, it is recommendation of Elections Commission to proceed with this, and then they can say, we agree.
Or if we go, okay. Then once or twice in years. I doubt it. 24. We'll make it nice and short, we'll do the election administrator report and maps and voting action. What's that on? Go pick your kids up, you gotta do that first, that's important. Brandon, you're gonna spotlight.
We are.
Okay, it's no problem, I understand people have plans, we just gotta get this knocked out.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna push to get this knocked out by 14, that's at the first reading meeting, commissioners report, that way we'll have a public hearing ahead of time, we can go. Okay, anything else that we need to talk about while we're here, everybody else relatively happy with where things are moving at the moment?
Yeah.
All right, which case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. There we go.
All right, so now that's over with, one last thing we'll do is we need to find the secretary, since our secretary not sure.
She's, well, I'm not making excuses for her, but she did text me and said she'd be home this week.
That's the appeal.
Okay.
Because I did text her and asked her how she was at.
on this, the only two things that are included in this.
Okay, so we'll have to record, I'll go through Mark.
Yeah, let me
Can
know.
you do that? I mean,
There's nothing in Mexico that says she's secretary.
She just was.
Okay.
Yeah, so all we gotta do is just want somebody else to take the minutes, because we do need to record the minutes.
Yes.
I mean, we're getting by right now, because they're recording meetings, and they're available on YouTube, we'll keep those recordings in case somebody wants to say something, it's no meeting. But I don't anticipate she can special, we're not even if she's here. I'm not trying to be ugly, I'm just trying to say, we all want to jobs to do, we gotta figure out. On that part.
I usually text her, but I forgot today. I mean, so I just texted her when we got here and she said, I'm gonna have. But this is not the only time.
Exactly. I'm not trying to beat on anybody, I'm just simply saying, we've got to make our organization work.
I didn't even think of that. I should have done.
Well, there's no, this is just all discussion. no
Yeah,
decision.
it's-
So you put, these people met, meetings called to order, the minutes were not, the secretary's done enough to the minutes, discussion was made on redistricting voting precincts. No decisions were made, it's just discussion.
I left the minutes off here simply because I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. I waste time. I would like to start going back over the minutes so that you're above. Yeah, so it's important. All right, guys and gals, I gotta go for the good for long. Y'all have.
So are you gonna wait until the 29th or dates after that to file, or are you gonna? What time,
What you got?
I've got. I've got the 11:30, 8 o'clock,
8 AM?
8 a.m.
Sounds good.
Okay. Very good. I'm gonna be down for 8. Did you see I sent an email last night?
The corrected version?
Yes.
Yes, sir, got it.
Okay.
Oh, what is it?
The application, I didn't realize, I just got a notification yesterday, like, oh, hey, this is the one you have to use. Evidently, they passed in code or this legislation, you have to say whether or not you've been convicted of a felony application. So, yeah. Anyway, so I sent that new form out to everybody. Other than that, it's exactly the form, that's something that's different.
So what time do you?
Here, let me get this.
I will do that. On my calendar.
No.
I already tried to bring up some photos, give it an
I have no problem, I can't remember.
In our bill,
Armadillo did that to the
I
car.
had 2,000 really 2004.
Wow.
Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, so
Man.
it actually also under
I
my
knew.
car, run the old, because we were on my oils.
Oh, that's an unlucky hair right there. I mean, I've been enough 9-band armadillos in my life. I've just never had that.
Yeah, I'm gonna truck next time.
So
Well,
about,
so there's just even some of those issues.
wait,
Because then you can honk and they'll jump up.
It's called Joe Johnny, he's my driver truck.
Yeah. Armadillos are in the car, it is.
Yeah, we put some of those straight scoops. Putting them on the roads, we go.
Is that Adam?